2012 is the 50th anniversary of the New York Film Festival, which had its first edition in 1963. And it's also my last year as program director. This is 25 years of the festival under my stewardship. My predecessor, Richard Rout, also had 25 years. So in a little way, as a tribute to him, I didn't want to do more than Richard, since I owe him so much in many ways. I certainly wouldn't be here if it hadn't been for his work. When I got here in 1988, there was the New York Film Festival once a year. And by then, we were doing some summer programs. Since that time, in 1991, we opened the Walter Reed Theater. New Directors, New Films began with the Museum of Modern Art in 1972, is now presented both here and at the Museum of Modern Art. Also, I think just the awareness of film as part of Lincoln Center. When we built the Eleanor Bunin Monroe Film Center, I was really pleased that it was right in the middle of the block with a nice orange doorway, so you can't miss it. Now I think everyone would know that film is a real part of Lincoln Center's offering. I think if Los Angeles is the American capital of filmmaking, New York is the American capital of film culture. There are all the nonprofits, such as the Film Society of Lincoln Center, or the Museum of Modern Art, Film Forum, Brooklyn Academy of Music, and just what we together show, I think, offers you already a pretty rich variety of film. And then New York has just an incredible number of festivals. Literally on a weekend, you can see an extraordinary range of film. And so because of that, New York has a very lively film culture. I very much intend to continue my work at Columbia, though, and if anything, I hope to get more involved. I'm part of a graduate film program, which I truly think is one of the very best graduate film programs, not only in the country, but really in the world. I think Columbia has few peers in terms of the education that it gives people coming to study directing, producing, and screenwriting. For about the last 6-7 years, we've also had an MA in film studies. So we do now have a group of students who come every year into the graduate program who are primarily interested in film study and becoming film professors, critics, curators. And finally, we have undergraduate film education, and Columbia's had a film major since, I think, 1994. And it's grown quite large. I believe it's the 12th or 13th largest major at Columbia at this point, and we're now beginning a PhD program in film studies, and I think that will require more of my time. I'm looking to some of the opportunities that Columbia has and will have even more of teaching abroad. As you know, one of the mandates of Columbia seems to be to really make it a global university, an international university, and I think I'm well positioned to be part of that effort. Digital technology has advanced or changed the way that film is taught because we simply have much greater access to films than certainly when I was studying film, or really for almost any time until the last 10 years. Meaning that when I teach a class on Chinese cinema, I can show students clips from films from the 1930s. At a time when you were restricted to celluloid, that would have been almost impossible unless you were working or teaching in a film archive and had access to those films. And even then, the mechanics of it might have been very, very complicated. But now I can talk about the Chinese 30s and say, for example, let's look at this, and show 5 minutes from a film. So I think it's infinitely enriched the experience of students because hopefully it's not only shown them, illustrated what you're talking about, but hopefully whetted their appetite to see more of these films. In terms of filmmaking, I think one can say that at this point, almost every sentient adult in the United States could make a film. Whether or not they're going to make a good film and how you're going to judge that, that's a whole other issue. But certainly the almost mysticism around filmmaking when I was growing up, this terribly mysterious process, how you do it and how difficult it was and how skilled you had to be and whatever, that's all gone. Nowadays, people make films on their telephones. So, I mean, because of that, I think that has changed our relationship to image making in that way. Now there are other questions we can ask, but certainly I think the technique is within the grasp of almost anybody.